Heinrich Christensen. I'm going to play the organ for this grand event, 2 recitals, one here at St. Cecilia's Church in the Back Bay of Boston on January 29, and one in New York City at St. John the Divine on February 7. So the pieces on this program are composed by 2 people, Graham Ramsay and Robert Sirota.
I'm Robert Sirota. I'm a composer. I've known Graham for many, many years, first as my student and then as my esteemed colleague. We're going to have a joint recital of our works played by the very wonderful Organist Heinrich Christensen, both here in New York, where we're doing this interview, but first in Boston, which is Graham and Heinrich's hometown.
I was a pupil of Bob's back in 1980. It was the first time we met at Tanglewood, and Heinrich Christensen, who is a friend and has commissioned a number of pieces over the years, reunited me with Bob about 3 years ago when you were commissioned by the American Guild of Organists to write a work for their convention with Heinrich Christensen doing the premiere.
All the time I'd known Graham, he'd spoken very fondly about his time studying with Bob, and so I knew they hadn't seen each other in a few years, and so I thought it would be fun for them to get together, and it kind of all worked in a beautiful symbiotic way.
Work that you're writing specifically for Heinrich for this program.
Right, and I always have to look at the German because I mispronounce it otherwise. Right. It's Chorale Variations on Wer nur den lieben Gott, lässt, walten, which is a wonderful chorale, Lutheran chorale by Georg Neumark, which is also commonly used in Denmark, which connects us with Heinrich, who is a Danish native. And then also we're doing a work of mine from the 90s, a piece written for a big organ in a big cathedral, which works very well with the venues that we're using, called Celestial Wind.
So the 2 works I have, one of the pieces was written for Heinrich Christensen for a concert tour he did of Denmark and Sweden about 8 years ago, called Jacob versus Angel. It's a 6-movement large concert work based on a poem by Alice Flaherty, which is in 6 stanzas, and each stanza of the poem has a movement that's associated with it. So that's a large work that, again, was written for Heinrich, so 2 of the pieces on our programs are written for him. The other piece I have on the program is called In Praise of San Simpliciano. It's a work that was written for organist and composer Harvey Birgit, and it is written for a Bach replica instrument, and therefore is somewhat restricted in terms of its language, but is very versatile. It can be performed on any instrument. It has no registration suggestion, so that the organist is permitted to sort of decide what will be appropriate based on the space and instrument that they're working with.
Maybe one of the fascinating aspects of this particular program is it sort of stretches over a much vaster period of time than recent history, in that 2 of the works are sort of tied back to biblical stories, so the events of Pentecost and Jacob fighting with the angel, and then we have one work based on a Lutheran chorale, and even the San Simpliciano piece is in a way sort of historical in that it was written for a historical instrument, so a Baroque style organ, and has some of those connotations. So you get sort of this echoing through the centuries. And then in terms of Graham and Bob's relationship as a teacher, mentor, student, I do think that you hear similar elements. I think they have both developed in significant and different ways, but that there certainly is a musical kinship in how they think about music.
This concert is about our relationship.
Yes.
And I find that that's a really exciting thing for me. I'm not sure how that will read for audiences. I hope that they can have an ear toward listening to the works and sort of seeing what kind of sensibilities and influences there are, because you've been a major influence in my work.
Well, it'll be interesting for audiences to see how a teacher-mentor relationship has evolved into a truly equal collaborative relationship. that in itself is unusual in the world and in the art world as well. And I think you can hear it in these pieces.
Yeah, I think so too. I think so too. I'm really excited about the new work. I can't wait to
Thank
hear
you.
it. I plan on looking at sketches later on if you'll show me.
Sure.
And I think this is going to be a very exciting thing.